Hey there, welcome back. In today's video we're going to exercise our positional muscle by going through the moves of a very interesting game played by Alexander Khalifman, considered by some a former world champion, and his opponent was Evgeny Ermenkov. The game is a positional battle in a semi-closed position. You know, these kind of positions are really tough to get plans, improve your pieces, find pawn breaks. All these kind of tasks are tough ones, and you need some practice, you need some training before your own games. And today's exercise is going to help us to find our way in this kind of tough position. So without further ado, let's jump right into the game. Khalifman played as white and he started the game with d4. I'm going to go through the opening without paying much attention because I'm not interested in getting the ideas of the opening and commenting the ideas of the opening. I'm going to a middle game position that is really tough to assess. Okay, knight f6, knight f3, c5, d5. This is a typical old Benoni. g6, black allows white to gain some space in the center, and to gain some compensation on the queen side improves the situation of the bishop. Knight c3, also c4, pretty normal, but knight c3 keeps the position a little bit more open. The c4 square can sometimes get interesting for the knight, be useful for the knight. Bishop g7, e4, now e5 might be a threat, so d6 and bishop e2. Modestly trying to castle, and yeah, in this kind of position white enjoys the, as I mentioned before, the central space, and the way to handle it is usually we are going to try to keep pushing our pawns to gain a little bit more space, but first we have to bring our pieces to the game. So the game continues with knight a6. This is the most normal move. The main line, they are trying to play knight c7 to support b5. Sorry, knight c7 to support b5. Okay, bishop f4, controlling e5, preparing e5 at some moment. Knight c7. Now b5 might be threatened, so Khalifman played b5. a4, sorry, he played a4 to control it. b5, b6. Yeah, the idea is not to play a6, as a5 can be a little bit annoying. Yeah, a pawn that controls two pawns. Yeah, so b6 is the normal way to proceed. Rook e1. Yeah, the rook will help the e pawn to advance at a certain moment. a6, trying to control b5. Planning to play rook b8 and b5. h3. Now, okay, this is a normal move. It controls g4 it takes it from the bishop, and the knight is not going to be able to come to g4, and at the same time it gives some h2 for the bishop, as it may need it at some moment. It enables bishop h2 as well. Okay, knight d7. Black tries to prevent e5 and opens the diagonal. Bishop c4. Okay, this is a very nice move. Bishop c4 has got an idea that we'll discover now. And here we are. Okay, this is the position I wanted to comment to start. I wanted to start from this position, but okay, seeing the initial moves is nothing bad because we get a better feeling of what we're doing. Okay, black is ready to play b5. So white can try to play e5 right away, or instead prevent b5. In positional chess, we are not just trying to make our ideas work, but we are trying to prevent our opponent's ideas as well. So how can we prevent b5? Do you have any idea of how to prevent b5? Yeah, if you want, you can pause the video, you can try to find a nice idea to prevent b5. Okay, Khalifman played queen d3. A little bit a strange looking move because creating a battery against the pawn on a6 is not such a common thing. But the thing is that b5 is very well controlled by those pieces. The diagonal is really belongs to white. So Ermenkov decided to play f6. Yes, he wants to prevent e5. So he plays f6. Okay, by the way, playing b5 was possible, but not good for black. H takes b5, h takes b5, knight takes b5, knight takes b5, bishop takes b5, bishop b2. Yeah, the material balance persists, but after rook a7, the position seems to be really good for white. Okay, we're threatening c3, leaving the bishop there. And sometimes bishop c6, controlling all the squares, and in the long term, e5. Okay, perhaps c4 first, but the position is really tough for black to play. Okay, instead, Ermenkov decided to play f6. A really ugly looking move. The bishop is complaining right away, but he tries to control e5 and tries to leave Khalifman without a plan. Yeah, we have no e5, so what is our plan now? What would you play? Now it's a nice moment to try to find a continuation, and e5 is no longer possible. So what is white's idea? Okay, you might have find the move. It's a really nice one. Khalifman played rook a b1. Okay, in semi-closed positions, everything is around pawn breaks. And b4 is going to be a very effective pawn break. Yeah, b4 tries to put pressure on the b file, and at the same time tries to take this pawn from c5 so we can get the knight to d4. Yeah, once the pawn is on b4, okay, it's out of the board, we will put the knight on d4, and from d4 it controls really important squares. So knight e5, it's Ermenkov's move. Yeah, this is a very good one. He gains some space for the rest of the pieces and forces some trades. After knight takes e5, f takes e5, and we find a little question here: where to put the bishop? Yeah, shall we drop it back to h2 as planned when we played h3? Or we should put it on e3 or g5. Okay, the move was bishop e3. Yeah, the thing is that on e3 it controls both diagonals and puts pressure on the queen side. From h2 it gets a little bit out of play. Yeah, it's not doing anything but preparing f4. Here on e3 is much more flexible. So that was a good move. Bishop d7, and okay, it's really tough for black to find a way to proceed. b5 is the intention, but by playing bishop d7, a6 is hanging, and this is the question: shall we capture the pawn on a6? If we are not going to capture on a6, what are the options? What are we supposed to play? Okay, Khalifman captured the pawn, but actually it was a really communal decision. Seems completely normal, but the other option was to play b4. Yeah, b4 seems absolutely normal, and perhaps it's a simpler decision. Okay, but let's see what happened in the game. Bishop takes a6, knight takes a6, queen takes a6. It seems to be a clean pawn up. But all of a sudden, suddenly, b5. Yeah, black is trying to capture white's queen. The white queen has got nowhere to go away, and the rook is ready to attack it. This is the idea. This is Ermenkov's idea, and seems to be pretty effective. Yeah, seems to be Khalifman seems to have been tricked, but appearances are deceiving this time. Were you prepared to face b5? Okay, Khalifman played knight takes b5, bishop takes b5. Okay, in case of rook a8, queen b7, rook b8, queen c7, and there is no problem with the queen. So instead, by capturing on b5, a takes b5, and rook a8, now white's queen seems to be trapped. The game continued with queen b7, rook b8, queen a6, rook a8, and it seems to be a draw, but Khalifman found a way to continue playing. What do you find a way? What would you play? What would you play? How to continue the game? It seems impossible. Okay, you guessed right. We're going to sacrifice the queen, but how? Queen c6, rook c8, and yes, we can do it here. b4. That's what Khalifman played, and the idea is crystal clear now that we have it in front of us. It's as simple as rook takes c6, d takes c6, and those passed pawns are fantastic pawns. Yeah, the pawns are going to be helped in case of c takes b4, rook takes b4 by the rook, the bishop, the other rook is coming, the other pawn is coming, and those pawns are going to roll, and they're going to queen. They're going to be a queen very soon. So the idea is brilliant. After b4, black is almost lost. Rook takes c6, d takes c6, and it's pretty tough. Ermenkov got destroyed, got immediately destroyed. It's super difficult to prevent those pawns from quitting. Okay, the game continued with the e6. Now rook ed1, positional play, putting some pressure here, threatening b takes e5, queen b8, b takes e5. Now the pawn is supported by the rook. B d5. This is crazy. There's very few black can do. E takes d5, e takes d5, rook takes d5. Oh, sorry, rook takes d5, queen e8, and okay, queen e8 seems to be a tricky one because it prevents b6 because of queen takes c6, and it seems that c7 is not possible because of queen f7 attacking the rook and the pawn. So how to proceed? There might be several ways to win. Khalifman found a very straightforward way to impose his enormous advantage, and he decided to play c7. Yeah, not fearing queen f7, that was the game, because of b6. Queen takes d5 and b7. Yeah, and Khalifman is going to win material, so Ermenkov decided to resign. A very instructive game. Yeah, it's all about pawn breaks and maneuvers in which your pieces not only improve, but at the same time prevent your opponent's ideas. Yeah, the bishop on c4 is really well placed. Yeah, once Ermenkov played knight d7, he just plays knight d7. Bishop c4 is a fantastic move because it supports the pawn on d5. So when we play e5, the pawn is going to be supported. No need to worry about it. And at the same time, it prepares queen d3. This is a pretty nice prophylactic measure against b5. So positional play is about improving your pieces, finding pawn breaks, weakening squares. And okay, we're going to discuss this kind of idea in more depth, but it was all for today. See you next time. Thank you very much.